under the bridge with lit matches and blood. Cut the scar for my face and cut the scar to get love. Told me you were there, where were you when I died? Told me you were there, where were you when I tried? Looking into the eyes of empty mirrors. When I stare, see no reflection. Feel my presence, even though I'm never there. Here's to my perception, diselections. You don't like the way I am, well I'm disrespected. Cause I ain't gonna play with this life. Seems I'm always doing wrong when I'm trying to do it right. MCs say silly things and then industry strikes. Got guitars, drums, and drums, all I'm holding is this mic.
Hey everybody, welcome to On Beats. We're here at Rumors Ultra Lounge on Edmonton's own famous White Ave, just off the side of Gateway Boulevard. I'm sitting here tonight with Ambiguous from Edmonton.
What's up, Edmonton, Alberta?
Ambiguous is a well-known hip-hop artist. He's been in the scene for about 10 years now. And he's doing some great things. So tonight we're putting on just a little kind of jam show, kicking off the whole Rumors opening. How are you tonight?
I'm good, feeling good. We got some good people performing. We got RC Syndicate. I'm looking forward to checking them out tonight. They're a band, collective, hip-hop, experimental, so that'll be cool to check out.
So Ambiguous, like I said, has been in the scene for about 10 years now, and you've had the opportunity to perform with headlining Canadian acts like MOKA Only, CHOCLAIR, Classified, SAUKRATES, and the list just kind of goes on. And on top of that, you're an active youth advocate, you're a father, and married to hip-hop.
Yeah, pretty much, you know. I know a lot of artists say it, you know, but I guess more than that, you know, I consider myself a student. You know, it's an ongoing relationship, and it's ever evolving and changing. But yeah, you know, it's a pretty important element of my life for sure.
So why don't you tell your fans where Ambiguous came from and what the AKA means?
Ambiguous. Before I was known as Ambiguous, I was known as T-Mad G, and the name Ambiguous came to me actually from a professor of mine when I decided to go back to school. We had spoken about being open-minded and not judging people, and the name kind of stuck with me because a lot of my music is like that. It's open to interpretation, right? The definition of ambiguous is open to interpretation, can mean more than one thing. So for me, that's kind of where my music is, because you either like it or you don't, you know, and it's easy to say that, but in a lot of cases, people, you know, sometimes have to actually hear what I'm saying to really know where I'm going with it. So yeah, you know, it's also a part of who I am, you know, it always has been, so.
All right, so you said your music is open to interpretation. What inspires your lyrics in your music?
That, again, is ever evolving. You know, I have one album under my belt, and it was just over 1,000 copies which were put out. And what inspired that album actually was high-risk youth and a lot of youth and the direction that I see them going. And it brought back a lot of memories for me. So, you know, I talked about my journey into changing my perspective. You know, I went from being a high school dropout to you know, trying to just change my life, you know, and doing that through music. You know, I talk a lot about, you know, my personal experiences, but that's always changing. Every album is different. You know, like I said, I'm a student more than anything. You know, I learn from everybody I work with, and I think that's important to keep that open-mindedness, because, you know, the world's constantly changing. We are constantly changing as individuals. So as an entity, Ambiguous is evolving as well.
So you mentioned the high-risk youth, and earlier today I know you spoke at the Armory for the Yes Shelter, and that's the youth shelter here in Edmonton. So a lot of youth that just don't have anywhere to go to this shelter, and then they go to the Armory and they get some life skills courses and things like that. You started and kicked off a movement here by a bunch of different musicians called the Yes We Can Help. What makes advocating for you so important to you?
Oh, again, because, you know, I am a father. However, I know how hip-hop inspires many, many youth, and music in general, not even just hip-hop. A lot of people are influenced by it. So for me, I think it's important for me to stay true to who I am, and in my experience, when other individuals see that, they become more empowered to be true to who they are. Even if it's not the same style that I have, or it's not the same music as me, they tend to become a little bit more brave. It's easy for people, especially youth, to conform to what people want you to be or what they think you should be. You know, I think that advocating for youth to, you know, be your own individual, learn who you are, love who you are, and accept your good with your bad, you know, that helps for personal growth. And music is the way to that. There's so much music out there right now that's falsified, that isn't even realistic. You know, it's not what it is, but we're being tricked by it and by the media and by the mainstream. That it's important for me to continue to grow and to connect with people in general when it comes to staying true to who you are through your music, through your art form, whatever that is.
So what does it mean for you to stay true to who you are in your art form and to create positive hip-hop?
Well, for me, it means that I don't always have to be the same person. You know, for example, a lot of my fans, I was listening to a radio, actually 2 different radio interviews with some artists from the East Coast, and both of them had mentioned me, but they had mentioned me as being a positive hip-hop artist. Another one mentioned one of my songs as being like a family-oriented song, which is great. I'm glad that, you know, people from all walks of life can enjoy it. However, I think it's important to know that that's not all I am. You know, I evolve. There's a lot of stories that I tell that really aren't all that positive, although the outcome is. So I take hold of that title and I embrace it. However, I need to be able to change and evolve as an artist too. So if one album is say all about my struggle as a youth, the next one's going to be more about some things that maybe, you know, piss me off about the music industry or about the way certain things are going within the industry. And I want to be able to change and not be held to one standard, you know. Just because I don't do it all in one album doesn't mean that I can't. You know, so that's important to me.
So do you think it's possible for the mainstream radio and hip-hop to incorporate more positive hip-hop, and how can that happen?
Absolutely. I know that it's possible. I think that a lot of artists are actually doing that. We can look at the diverse range of music. Look at somebody like Chaos. Chaos was always known as a hip-hop artist. However, you know, he's evolved his music to the style that he wants. I find it very positive. It's very influential for me. You know, you look at other artists, Canadian artists, you know, look at somebody like, let's go with Classified, who's a feel-good hip-hop artist too, you know. The music is feel-good music. We look at, like, again, SAUKRATES. These are some of the artists that I've been working with. Although it's hip-hop and they're talking about a lot of, you know, issues such as the street, and some of the issues may seem negative, it's all feel-good music, and a lot of it goes mainstream, so it's very possible to do. I think that you have to build yourself, and I think that people have to learn to take you serious, and that doesn't happen overnight. You know, but you need to continue to grow and find out who you are as an artist and persevere. If you don't persevere, it won't happen. You know.
So you've been working on a number of different projects throughout the last few years, and one of which is your upcoming album, MORESIGHT.
Yeah. Well, the MORESIGHT album, it's very organic. You're not going to find a lot of high-tech mixing. It's all, I guess I'll use the word, yeah, organic. It's very underground sound. The music is inspired by like the old Gangstar Premier type beats, that sort of thing. It's being produced, it's all original beat production, so it's not a mixtape. Respect to those doing the mixtape thing, however, you know, I'm proud to say it's not a mixtape as well. But it's all underground sound, and my vocals are all underground, and it's got a lot of topics. It's a concept album. So I'm touching on topics that, like, I'm kind of flipping the whole hip-hop thing with, you know, I'm talking about fathers' rights now, rather than just, you know, the fathers that aren't there. Rather than talking about a lot of the abuse issues you hear in hip-hop, you know, where, you know, my aunt was abused or this has happened. You know, I'm talking about, you know, how males, you know, it's stereotyped for a male to be abused or talk about it, and that sort of thing. So I'm flipping the script a little bit on that. I'm talking about spirituality. I'm talking about the industry, what I think about the industry, but I'm keeping it underground. Like, none of the tracks on this album I would anticipate will be on a mainstream radio station. However, you'll be sure to catch them on like a university station or that sort of thing, right? So I'm talking politics, stuff like that as well. So
a lot of male issues, like you were talking about the father issues, and what kind of father issues are you talking about?
Well, you know, father's rights. There's different kinds. I know. For example, there are a lot of single moms out there, you know, and there are a lot of fathers of children who don't want to be involved or whatever the reasons may be. However, I know of, you know, just working, doing the social work or working with people that I do, that there are a lot of barriers within the system, a lot of loopholes, and that there are even fathers that do want to be there However, I think a lot of personal feelings get involved, and the rights, the system's a little backwards, you know. It's, there one particular story, I know of a story where an individual had to go and have the visits monitored, not because he had done anything wrong, but because that's where their relationship was within their communication, and they couldn't agree to, even though he was a good father, you know, so this sends messages to the child, you know, subliminal messages. Wow, you know, what did my daddy do, even if he's done nothing? Or even like PAS, parental alienation syndrome. It's very easy for a mother or a father to alienate their child from the other person, but this is a newfound illness. This affects the child, and it can be alienating them from a grandmother, a grandfather, but this affects the child mentally and emotionally throughout their life, whether we like it or not. But the system doesn't acknowledge this stuff. So I think that both, you know, a mother and a father, I think we need to look at both of them as it being an important role in a child's life.
So your CD is set to release sometime in 2012, and you have a music video already created for that that's also being released closer to the spring of 2012. Tell us about the music video and what we can expect, and I think we'll even have a little bit of a clip.
Absolutely, for sure. There's going to be 3 music videos coming from the album, but the first one, it's called Something to Rely On. I'll be performing the song tonight. Again, it's an underground type sound, but the video, it's going to be an organic video as well. It's a lot of it's outdoors, it's nature, and the song is basically about not blaming everything else in the world for what doesn't go right, but rather learning to, you know, love yourself, learning to take accountability, and then learning to be able to grow. You know, relying on yourself first and foremost, and then being able to do what you got to do from there. You know.
So I mentioned earlier that you've had the opportunity to work for many great hip-hoppers like SAUKRATES and Classified, and even closely work with people like Jay Brew. How has that been for you to work with artists with such prestige in Canada, and what can we expect more for Ambiguous?
It's been amazing. It wasn't expected. It wasn't like I just all of a sudden hit these guys up and we're like, hey, let's do all this stuff. You know, it's been a process. I've been connecting with these artists, and one thing led to another, you know. SAUKRATES phoned me up. I never actually phoned him. So after working with CHOCLAIR, he phoned me up and we talked about what we could do, and it's been an honor because, again, I never ever expected at this early stage in my career I would be doing this. But now having these guys on my next album, I'm working on another album as well, and these guys are all featured on it. So it's been a wild ride, you know. Like already, it's pretty cool, you know. It's been an honor, I guess, you know. And again, I'm a student, so I get to learn from these guys. So it keeps me humble, keeps me grounded for sure.
Perfect. Thank you, Ambiguous, for spending some time with us and answering questions. And we'll show you some clips of tonight's performance, and we'll give you some video clips from his upcoming song and album. Till next time on Beat.
My mind open to interpretation, writing down my feelings and my life with patience and anticipation, writing different feelings of greatness, saying who don't only see I see arrogant. All the times in my life with self-esteem nearly verified. I wrote it down and feel inspired. Check myself and make the changes that really got me. The basic stages that I needed and it's not completing. Close my eyes and then begin the healing. Still I ain't perfect like a stranger from the TV in the 90s. It's like action movie initiatives. I've been here all alone, searching inside your soul. Yeah, you're looking for your place to be. While you're looking at yourself, what you looking at? I feel you inside the air. Cause like only you need something to rely on. We get high on the types of drugs when all you really need is love. Yeah, I'm taking this chance to figure out what crutches like a lamp help me to do it.